All right, you guys, I saw Baby Girl last weekend. I have been looking forward to it ever since I saw the trailer months ago. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was really exciting and sexy and also kind of like cringy, but that just added to the fun. The performances were amazing, maybe minus like Antonio Banderas, who was just like whisper screaming every time he could. But anyway, forget this guy. If you're looking for book recommendations with similar themes to Baby Girl, I've compiled a list. Some of these are books I know and love, other ones are on my TBR. There are several different genres of books, so there's kind of something for everyone. I'll share a little bit about the plots of each one without giving any spoilers away. So let's get into it.
Shall we all do one?
I ordered a thing. I am impressed.
This is the face of someone who loves getting any excuse to talk about one of her favorite books ever. If you haven't read Vladimir by Julia May Jones, this is literary fiction about this older, like female professor. She's in her late 50s and she like loses her marbles over this obsession that she has with this like new hot young professor at her university. And her life is kind of like in shambles at the moment because her husband who is like such a doofus. He's being investigated by the university for like inappropriate relationships with students. And they've always had like this open marriage, but she's never acted on it until now. She kind of has a reason to. She's getting to know Vladimir and like similar to Baby Girl, not just the reverse age gap, but like it's like that question of like who has the power. You know, she's very respected and like popular at the university, and he and like Vladimir finds her advice for like his book really invaluable. And so like who has the power? Is it him for being this like trendy hot professor, or is it her? And I just loved it. She decides to like act on her fixation with him, and it's like one of the most chaotic climaxes of like any book I've ever read. I absolutely love it, like flaming 5 stars. There's no way that I couldn't mention All Fours by Miranda July. This book is like the unofficial like book mascot for Baby Girl, the movie. Everyone is talking about it and comparing the two. I haven't read it yet. I still have like a 10-week wait on my Libby, but it's supposed to be about this woman who she's like an older mom and she goes on this road trip and decides to have this like sexual awakening. I think it happens like at a motel. People on Goodreads are like really divided about it. Like they either love it or people say like it's way too graphic. And I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about it. Like I can get kind of icked out by like gross word choice. So I'm hoping that I like it. I know that it's really popular, but people are really drawing a lot of like comparison between All Fours and Baby Girl. Also, just a funny note, when we were in the theater, like there's a scene where Harris Dickinson says to Nicole Kidman, like, get on all fours. And like my partner, who's like French, like leans over to me and he's like, what does it mean, like all fours? Anyway, so you know, it's a little bit similar. Let me know if you read that book. There's also no way that I couldn't mention The Idea of You by Robinne Lee. I feel like I like beat this book to death by like talking about it so much last year, but I just like don't often get obsessed with romance novels, and I totally love this story last year. I made several videos about it, especially comparing the book to the movie. But this is a lot like Baby Girl with this reverse age gap. If you haven't seen or read The Idea of You, it's about this woman approaching 40 and she ends up like having this love affair with this like boy band member. It's just such a wonderful book. I absolutely loved it. And I guess we could say it's similar to Baby Girl. Let me know if you think they're similar or not. Let's talk about The Piano Teacher. This is a book that won the Nobel Prize for Literature back in the 80s. It's about this woman who is kind of like sexually and emotionally repressed, and she is like struggling because she has these like dark desires. She spends her evenings like going to peep shows, and she ends up like getting into this like sadomasochistic relationship with her like younger student, and it just like results in disaster. I'm wondering if I want to read this or just watch the movie from 2001 starring Isabelle Huppert. I'm a little curious about it, but I'm also kind of like nervous to read it. Let me know if you've read it. It sounds pretty similar to Baby Girl, I think. If you're looking for a book that's similar to Baby Girl in terms of like the same kink that Nicole Kidman has in the movie, you might want to check out Pen Pal by JT Geissinger. This is actually my current book, and you guys will not believe, like, just now when I was looking up like a picture to put in this video, I somehow like spoiled this book for myself because I'm only like halfway right now. And so I'm very, very sad. Of course, I won't spoil it for you, but let me talk about why it's kind of similar. Okay, so this is about this woman named Kayla. She is a widow. Her husband just passed away in this accident, and she's kind of like at home dealing with some issues with her house. There's like electrical problems, and she has a leak, and she's getting these weird letters from like some guy in prison who's like, "I'll wait for you forever." And she is like, "Oh, you're so creepy, like leave me alone." And then she proceeds to like write him back like with every single time she gets a new letter, which I don't understand. But what is really happening so far in the parts of the book that I've read, like she gets involved with this like sexy handyman who I assume is the guy on the cover, and she kind of like explores this male dominant kind of affair with him. Instead of calling her baby girl, he calls her like his bad bunny, and I'm really enjoying these spicy scenes, but they are a little bit cringe. But anyway, if you're looking for something similar to like the baby girl spice, I'd say that that feels pretty similar. Let me know if you've read it. Let's talk about On the Island by Tracey Garvis Graves. This is a hit romance about this woman. She's an English teacher, and she's flying to the Maldives to like be a tutor for this like teenage boy. And I guess the plane crashes, and they're like stranded. Days turn into months, which turns into years, and it's just like her and her student. And apparently she like can't deny that he's becoming a man, and they end up having like a romance. It's supposed to be very good, like with this beautiful love story, but of course everyone on Goodreads is like freaking out because they met when he was like a teenager, but people like have assured us that nothing romantic happens until he's like 19. I guess this is similar to Baby Girl because of the reverse age gap. It's on my TBR. I don't know how I will feel about this whole he was a teenager when they met thing, but let me know if you've read that one and if you think it's similar to Baby Girl. If I haven't already mentioned, I'm waiting on your guys' comments to hear about other recommendations for books that are similar, so let's keep the list growing. All right, you guys, time to get into the erotic memoir recommendations. As someone on Goodreads said, anytime Annie Ernaux has an affair, she writes about it. She won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2022 with her book, The Young Man, which is about this affair that she had with a university student who was like 30 years her junior, back when she was in her 50s. It's supposed to be really good. And she's also published a couple other like short erotic memoirs. Both Simple Passion and Getting Lost are about an affair she had with this like young Soviet diplomat in the late 80s. It's supposed to be all about like her obsession and just like total desire for him. I started listening to Simple Passion, the audiobook, but it's a little bit too like wallowy for me. Like she's just like desperately waiting by the phone for him to call. Yeah, I prefer like someone to have a more like, I don't know, confidence and not be so desperate personally. The last Baby Girl-esque memoir I'll talk about is by Leslie Morgan. It's called The Naked Truth. This is about a woman who is recently divorced in her 50s, and she decides that she's going to try to find 5 lovers in 1 year. and just it entails everything that happens, all of her like personal self-discovery. It's supposed to be really good. I think I will check that one out. And that's the end of my Baby Girl book recommendations. Let me know what recs you have down in the comments, or if you've read any of the books I talked about, and stick around for more book reviews. We'll see you next time.